should sign Kirk Cousins over Aaron Rodgers. Fact or fiction?
I'll go with fact because I think they could probably sign Cousins now rather than waiting on Rodgers. I just think Pittsburgh needs to think bigger than this overall. They need a more permanent solution at the quarterback position than these Band-Aids they've been applying the last couple of years. But yeah, if you're sitting around waiting on Aaron Rodgers and you don't know for sure he's going to come back and play, then yeah, I would definitely go ahead and sign Kirk Cousins at this point.
It is weird. Dan, it is weird that Rodgers still has not signed after doing the McAfee show and they had all free agency, right?
Yeah, I believe that Rodgers is going to go back and be the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. I believe that the Steelers have a pretty solid idea of that as well.
Yeah, but why not yet?
I took 17 years of graduate college club. I got no clue.
You're a doctor.
I got no clue.
Dan O, Tua should be the day one starter in Atlanta. Fact or fiction?
Fact. One, health. Michael Penix is still recovering from I believe, November ACL tear, which is the third of his football playing career, unfortunately. Hopefully Michael gets back as healthy as possible. Two, Tua is a much more proven commodity. From 2022 to 2024, Tua was a top 10 quarterback, at times top 5 in MVP caliber quarterback. Certainly fall off last year, but performance-wise, there's a lot more of the known from Tua.
All right, last one here. After committing to Kyler Murray, Graz, J.J. McCarthy should be traded. Fact or fiction?
Fiction! The Vikings have paid 70% of his rookie contract and haven't gotten anything out of it. What would be the point of trading him now? What could you possibly get for him? Kyler Murray's in there on a one-year contract. There's still some hope that the light goes on for J.J. McCarthy and he can become the kind of player they thought he was going to be when they moved up to take him 10th overall. Trading him now makes no sense because you're not going to get anything of value in return, and there's still some glimmer of hope that he might turn out to be what you thought.
Yeah, I want to bring in Mel Kiper for this conversation as well. But Dan O, I go to you. You were in a million different quarterback rooms. It seems like last week was a coronation of Kyler Murray and everyone just saying, well, J.J. McCarthy's done. Is there a reason or any, I guess, glimmer of hope to buy some stock in J.J. McCarthy now that everyone seems to be off the bandwagon?
Yes, I'm still a supporter of J.J. McCarthy. I was a person who thought Minnesota's a great place for him, and then moving on from Sam Darnold was justified because of the marriage of style of play. How does he win back the organization, the teammates, and the coaches? That's the biggest mindset for J.J. I think, number one, as much as I love him, no more of these dual personalities, 9 on game day and whatnot, and I can appreciate all that. But we got to be the pro and the adult.
That stuff works when you win.
Yes, and it's cool, whatnot. But Kevin O'Connell, I need you every day. I need you to be reliable every day, on and off the field. I need you to be healthy, and also the team, the players, Justin Jefferson. I need to see that you've improved the mechanics that are going to get rid of those crazy misses. So I'm not ready to write J.J. McCarthy off yet, but it's incumbent upon him to take over and walk into that building every day like he is the starter and prove to everybody you can count on me in more ways than one.
Mel, I want to bring you in here because you do all these draft profiles and you're so good with the quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy just 2 years ago was a top 10 pick. What's your read on McCarthy versus Kyler, who of course was a number 1 overall pick and has had some real success in the league?
My feeling is Kyler's got to be the guy. This division with Love and Goff and Caleb, you can't be a distant fourth. And Kyler Murray was the number 1 pick overall for a reason. He's only 28 years of age. He had success with the Cardinals. Second year in the league, he's at 37 touchdowns, 12 picks when you factor in the 11 rushing touchdowns. Second year, 29-10, right? He's at 67, 69%. His career, 67%. Yes, he only had 1 year with a winning record. Yes, he had that bad playoff loss, but Kyler Murray was brought in here to be the guy. You got to get the ball to Jefferson. You got Addison. You got Naylor moved on. Ty Felton was going to be a key, guys. Keenan McCardell is a great wide receiver coach. Ty Felton was the 3rd-round pick. I watched him here with the Maryland Terrapins. He's got ability, okay? In year 2, he needs to step it up and make up for Naylor's loss. Hockenson, the offensive line's got to stay healthy. Make no mistake, they want to close that gap or get right to where those other quarterbacks are right now in that division. And the opportunity for that is with Kyler Murray, not J.J. McCarthy right now.
Graz, I ask you, because we're on these tables, we're on these shows. What's the feeling around the league about the Vikings quarterback situation?
I think there's a sense that Kevin O'Connell has had success with every quarterback that's been through there except J.J. McCarthy. So I think that most people feel, as Mel does, that Kyler's coming in there to start. I would just point out, Kyler's coming in there on a 1-year contract, off a season in which he only played 5 games. and there's a team out there that's paying him almost $37 million this year to play
not
for
be
someone
there.
else.
Yes.
So it's not as if this is somebody that comes in with no warts. He has to earn his way there as well. I think because he's played in the league and had some level of success in the league, it brings some level of legitimacy to the program if you're Kevin O'Connell and you're trying to keep Justin Jefferson from sort of losing his mind, right? You can't just say like, oh, J.J. McCarthy's our quarterback, he wave off last year. Like, that's too fresh in everyone's mind. I do think there's some part of the Vikings that hopes bringing in Kyle Murray.
You got it.
I got all my M's mixed
Lights
up.
the fire,
It's,
right?
St. Patrick's Day.
Murray, Murphy, McCarthy, it's St. Patrick's Day, exactly. That they bring in Kyler Murray does light a fire under J.J. McCarthy and does get him to do some of those things that Dan O was talking about.
Yeah, I just think I would reiterate to everybody. The goal for this offense is for the offense and the play call to be the star. If Kyler Murray can lose the I have to be the playmaker all the time
That's
mindset.
his stinger, though.
Yeah.
That's what makes him so special.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work until he
O'Connell
gets rid of that.
So just
O'Connell
rein
wants
it
to
in.
Get him 4 more downs.
Color within the lines.
Yep. And then with the loss of their Hall of Fame head coach, Jeff Stoutland, there's still conversation around A.J. Brown. Is he going to be there or not? Where's the pass rush going to come from on the perimeter? And there's a young offensive coordinator who might be great, but there's a giant question mark attached to that. So I still think there's a lot of unknowns. I give it a C.
Roz, that's a one MCE team. What grade would you give the Giants this offseason?
I think the Giants have had an A offseason. I think it starts with hiring John Harbaugh, who is the best head coach available on the market. And then, in free agency, I like adding Isaiah Likely, upside there, add some pieces on defense. I thought they'd do a little more on the offensive line. I think they still might. But I like everything the Giants have done so far this offseason. I think it's set them up pretty well.
All right, last year the Chiefs inexplicably missed the playoffs. What do you give their offseason this year as they head into this crucial season?
I would give the Chiefs a B. I think this is the most important draft of the Patrick Mahomes era for Kansas City. I think the offensive line should be a better unit, but there's question marks at the number 2 and number 3 wide receiver. There's question marks in the secondary. There's question marks off the edge with the pass rush opposite Karlaftis. And so while there were some good, solid additions, obviously Walker, Alohi Gilman, and Tonga are important parts. I still look at this roster and I say, not as good as the Chargers, not as good as the Broncos, not as good as the Texans, not as good as the Buffalo Bills. So I think it's a massively consequential draft for the Chiefs.
It's a huge draft. The year after they lost Tyreek Hill, I remember they drafted Karlaftis and McDuffie and Pacheco, and they loaded up again. They'd have to do that again. And yesterday they did make some news. They traded for Justin Fields, which raised some eyebrows around the league. Graz, are the Chiefs using Justin Fields as insurance for Patrick Mahomes?
Well, to some extent, they need somebody to operate their offseason and take OTA reps that Patrick's not probably going to be healthy enough to take. And then, they might need somebody with experience to start the first couple games of the season if he's not back yet from his injuries. So Justin Fields, obviously not coming off a very good season with the Jets, but he's got experience and you can do some things with him. Maybe even once Mahomes is healthy, there's some packages for him where he can take advantage of his legs. So I think it's a good upside play by the Chiefs because you can give this guy an entire offseason's worth of reps and see if you have something. See if you can maybe get him to do better at some of the things that he struggled with. And if not, really no harm done. You have an experienced backup.
Dan, because of the success of Sam Darnold now, it's an easy thing to say, well, he's the next Sam Darnold. He's going to rebuild his career. But this is his 4th team in 4 years. Do you see Fields being able to save his career and salvage it under Andy Reid?
I don't see this being the Sam Darnold's resurgence or the Baker Mayfield or even the Daniel Jones. I think this is, to Dan's point, Kansas City needs a guy that has starting experience in April, in May, in June, and certainly in August till Patrick gets back. I think the biggest unknown of all this is if Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy come to Justin Fields and say, let's make you our version of Taysom Hill, are you willing to say yes?
That's interesting.
Because then there's a very bright future for Justin. I think Justin as a quarterback right now is probably, we've settled on what he is. I've been the biggest Justin Fields fan from years ago. But I think if they come to him and say, hey, we're going to build this package around you becoming our version of Taysom Hill, where you're kind of this hybrid piece, is he willing to accept that and say yes? If he is, I think he's going to be a difference maker. I think he can make a ton of money in the future on it.
Yeah, I think I want to go back one question when you were saying how significant this draft is for the Chiefs. All right, so lay it out. They have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
What would you like to see?
I would love to see them draft Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon.
Big tight end that can play with Kelsey?
Yeah, with Kelsey. And it's the runway to becoming their next version of that. I mentioned the question marks at the number 2 or 3 wide receiver spot. You still have, I think it re-signed Tyquan Thornton.
Yes.
They still have the speedster Xavier Worthy, but there's question marks around him.
Sure.
Get Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. He's the chess piece. You put those 2 tight ends on the field, the athleticism, the speed, Andy Reid's vision of how to utilize that weapon on an offensive perspective. I think that, and then some type of pass rush help.
Yeah.
If I could pigeonhole one, you could not get off the field on 3rd down on defense last year. You couldn't get off the field. And so it was because you couldn't get to the quarterback. So you got to find some way to get that pressure back to the quarterback. Karlaftis, Chris Jones, can they add to that?
Remember, the Rams pick, they have their own pick. The Chiefs have 2 different first-round picks. That is very interesting for a team that's been in the playoffs